If you're new here, hit that subscribe button and smash the like. Your support helps us bring you more amazing, unmissable stories every single week. Elena had always believed that marriage was meant to be a sanctuary, a place where two people built intimacy not only through grand gestures, but also through the quiet everyday moments, a shared laugh over morning coffee, a gentle hand on the shoulder during a stressful day, or the simple act of listening when the other spoke. Those small acts of care were the mortar that held love together, or so she thought. But lately, her own marriage had begun to feel hollow. The house looked beautiful with polished floors and bright walls. Yet it echoed emptily. Her husband, David, whom she had married 8 years ago, was a good man, not cruel, not harsh, yet distant in a way that gnawed at her quietly. He was constantly consumed by work, emails that pinged through the night, and urgent calls that couldn't wait. Meetings that extended into dinner hours. And when he was home, he was still absent, eyes flicking across his phone, mind tethered somewhere else. Their conversations had become transactional. Did you pay the electricity bill? What's for dinner? Don't forget the dry cleaning. Elena missed none of these reminders. They were necessary, but she longed for something else. A word of praise, a touch, a shared joke, small affirmations that she existed to someone beyond their shared responsibilities. One Thursday afternoon, after yet another day of silences punctuated by chores and emails, Elena felt an urge to reclaim a fragment of herself. She booked a massage session at a studio across town. It was simple, practical self-care, something her friend had recommended as a stress relief. The studio was tucked inside a converted townhouse. Outside, its exterior was plain, unassuming, yet welcoming. Inside, soft instrumental music mingled with the calming scent of lavender and sandalwood. A receptionist greeted her warmly, handed her a clipboard, and gestured to a lounge where low lighting and plush chairs invited her to wait. Elena sank into one of the chairs, taking a moment to breathe to release the tension of months compressed into days. A few minutes later, a man approached Marcus, her assigned therapist. He was taller than she expected, with broad shoulders and a quiet confidence that somehow set her on edge. "Mrs. Collins?" he asked, his tone becoming professional. She nodded, suddenly self-conscious as she followed him to the massage room. The room was dimly lit, a single lamp casting warm golden light across the walls. A neatly arranged table draped in crisp white linen stood at the center. Bottles of essential oils lined a counter, their rich scents mingling in the warm air. Marcus gestured toward a chair. "Please place your belongings here. I'll step out for a moment while you get comfortable," he said, his voice matter-of-fact and perfectly professional. Elena's hands trembled slightly, not from fear, but from the unusual solitude, the quiet moment dedicated entirely to her own comfort. She slid onto the table, pulled the towel around her shoulders, and focused on slowing her breathing. When Marcus returned, his movements were precise and practiced. He adjusted the table height, poured oil into his palms, and began massaging her shoulders. The sensation was immediate, a release of tension she hadn't realized she was carrying. Elena exhaled in relief. Every press, every knead of her muscles reminded her how long it had been since anyone had truly attended to her, not out of obligation, but with care and intent. For a while, she focused purely on the physical relief. The glide of his palms, the tension melting away. Yet slowly her mind wandered, reflecting on the emotional space she had lost in her marriage. David's presence had become functional and necessary, but lacking in attention. In acknowledgement of her inner world, Marcus' steady hands were simply a vehicle for relaxation. But her mind couldn't help but notice the contrast, the care she felt now versus the distance she felt at home. Elena closed her eyes, letting herself sink into the moment, aware that it was not just about muscles loosening. It was about being seen, even in the smallest way. A laugh echoed from memory, a soft compliment David had given years ago. She realized how starved she had been for small, consistent affirmations, for presents that didn't arrive only in transactions. The session continued, each movement and adjustment bringing both physical comfort and emotional reflection. Elena allowed herself to think, to breathe, to remember what it was like to feel attended to without obligation. She thought of her marriage, of its quiet erosion, and of the choices she would need to make to reclaim her own sense of self. By the time the massage concluded, Elena felt lighter, not just in body, but in mind. She dressed slowly, savoring the quiet strength that had returned, the reminder that self-care was not indulgence, but necessity. She thanked Marcus, whose professional demeanor never wavered, and stepped back into the world outside, carrying with her a sense of inner calm that had eluded her for months. Walking back to her car, Elena reflected on what she had learned. Intimacy is not only in grand gestures, nor in passion alone. It is in noticing, in being present, in the small acts of care that reaffirm connection. She resolved to reclaim that in her marriage, to create moments where she and David could see each other again. Truly, it would not be easy. Relationships, like gardens, require attention. Neglect invites distance. But she now understood that seeking care for oneself was not betrayal. It was preparation. Preparation to bring her whole, vibrant self back into the world, to the people she loved and to herself. After that first massage, Elena felt a subtle shift inside herself. It wasn't just about relaxation. It was the awakening of awareness, the realization that she had been neglecting her own needs for far too long. As she drove home, she noticed the crisp autumn air brushing her face, the golden leaves drifting across the street, and she felt for the first time in months fully present. David was home when she arrived, his face illuminated by the soft glow of the kitchen light. He looked up from his phone as she entered. "Hey," he said, a tired smile crossing his face. "Long day," Elena nodded, but she didn't speak immediately. Instead, she unpacked groceries slowly, savoring face and the calm she had brought with her. She realized that even simple moments could feel luxurious if one approached them with attention. Over dinner, she tried a different approach. Rather than asking about bills or schedules, she asked David about his day. "How did the meeting go with the new client?" she inquired, genuinely curious. David's eyes flickered up, surprised by the question, and he began to share details, animated in his storytelling. For the first time in weeks, Elena felt heard and heard him in return. After dinner, while washing dishes, she thought about her own emotional landscape. She had always been the one who noticed the small cracks in their relationship first. Perhaps that was why she had felt compelled to book the massage. Not as an escape, but as a reminder that she deserved care and attention. The following week, Elena made small changes. She began leaving David little notes. "Hope your meeting went well," or "Dinner smells amazing," small gestures that required minimal effort but expressed thoughtfulness. She noticed a change. David responded with smiles, short touches on her arm, or a comment acknowledging the note. It wasn't grand, but it rekindled a sense of connection. During this period, Elena also began journaling. Each evening, she wrote about her feelings, her frustrations, and her hopes. Writing became a mirror of her mind, a safe space to explore emotions without judgment. It helped her recognize patterns like how she often suppressed her needs for the sake of routine, or how David's absence had created a quiet, lingering void in their marriage. One evening, she decided to share a part of her journal with David, carefully choosing her words. She read aloud, "I miss us. The laughter, the small moments of attention. I miss feeling noticed. Truly seen. I don't blame you, but I want us to find our way back to each other." David listened silently, his eyes reflecting a mixture of surprise and emotion. After a long pause, he spoke softly. "I didn't realize I've been so focused on work that I forgot to be present.
I'm sorry."
This conversation became a turning point. They decided to set aside one evening a week, no phones, no distractions, just time together. Slowly, routines that had felt monotonous began to carry meaning and intimacy, built on mutual acknowledgement rather than passion alone. Meanwhile, Elena continued her personal care. She visited the massage studio again, but now her purpose was clearer. Not to escape, but to maintain balance. Marcus, her therapist, remained professional and attentive. And while the sessions provided comfort, Elena realized that the true change was happening within herself. She began to notice the small joys in everyday life. A warm cup of tea on a rainy morning, the laughter of a neighbor's child in the garden, the way sunlight hit the walls of their home in the afternoon. These small moments reminded her that life was rich even in simplicity and that happiness was a practice, not a destination. At work, Elena also started applying this awareness. She was more patient with colleagues, more attentive in meetings, and began to recognize her own achievements without seeking external validation. The confidence she had rediscovered in her personal life spilled over into her professional sphere. Through this period of self-awareness, Elena realized something profound. The connection she sought in her marriage could not be manufactured externally. It needed to grow from mutual care, respect, and attention. The same way a garden flourishes with daily nurturing, not sudden storms. She saw that longing and desire, while natural, were best expressed through emotional presence rather than impulsive actions. David too began to change. He noticed her new habits, her calm demeanor, and the subtle shifts in her energy. Slowly, he started participating more, initiating small gestures, asking her genuine questions about her day, and offering support without being asked once their home was quiet. And empty began to feel alive again, filled with small acts of attention, laughter, and presence. Elena learned that the most powerful transformations often begin with oneself. By valuing her own needs, setting boundaries, and practicing self-care, she had cultivated an environment where her marriage could heal. And in doing so, she discovered a truth often overlooked. Happiness is not found in perfect routines or grand gestures. It's found in the daily attention, the consistent care, and the awareness of the world and people around you. By the end of this chapter, Elena had not only reconnected with her marriage, but had also grown emotionally stronger and more self-aware. The experience taught her that seeking care or attention outside of the marriage doesn't solve the problem. It is intentional communication, presence, and self-reflection that rebuild intimacy. She felt a sense of accomplishment not from a dramatic revelation or external validation, but from the quiet realization that she could create change, nurture connection, and find joy in everyday moments. And with that mindset, Elena was ready to face whatever challenges lay ahead, knowing that her emotional well-being and self-respect were the foundation of a healthy relationship.